Nile cruise. A conference was held in Cairo in the last few days, a focus on training and employment of youth. On another hand, a government decided to start an effective plan to support small and very small projects. To be discussing more about the economy of this, we join with Mr. Mohamed, an investment and economic expert. We'd like to thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Mohy. Let me start off first with a question that there seems to be a sort of a separation between the market needs and employment, basically. What is offered, employment on one hand, and what is offered by the vocational institutions on the other hand. Any chance of change, and what are the components of the strategy maybe in this regard?
Actually, those are a lot of questions, I believe. I believe on a strategic level there's for sure the issue of planning. I believe there's a lack of planning in terms of the needs of the market, and definitely the investment horizon in general. I believe we still lack a lot of investment culture. It's not ripe enough, it's not mature enough. Planning as well as the investment culture that needs to be implemented will definitely create the needed jobs. Definitely we need to focus on certain industries, and thus needs will be or should be met based on such needs. Yet on the other hand, the vocational training mainly is trying to focus on providing an expert.
But you need.
Yes, the experts. The experts
need most here in Egypt.
Yes, absolutely. Labor in Egypt is unfortunately not trained enough. That's on the first level. Second comes the loyalty issue. The labor in general, there needs to be some sort of loyalty, and actually that's a shared problem between the employer and the employee himself, because the employer is always seeking, definitely, or most of the time seeking his benefits, and the labor or the employee seeks his benefits as well. So there needs to be some sort of compromise in between the parties. Yes. So vocational training, in brief, we need to train the people. We need to make more experienced labor. Egypt needs this definitely. There are many institutions that are working on such initiative, and we hope for the best.
Yes. So let's move on a higher level. Speaking about the government and the economic performance today, how are you seeing this and how are you evaluating the situation?
Okay. Again, this comes on different levels. I believe the government these days is working on a survival plan. If I want to put it in a very, very brief terminology, it's a survival plan.
But that has been the case for the past 4 years.
And I believe it's still the case.
The part of transitional period.
Absolutely. I think that in Egypt we need to foresee or have a look or have a vision that the role of the government, the role of the country itself, it's not only to overcome poverty. Now we cannot even reach the level of overcoming poverty. We are trying to survive. And after survival comes the stage of overcoming poverty. Then comes the stage of prosperity, or becoming the second country economy. But what about the pursuit of happiness? This always rings a bell whenever I hear this terminology, the pursuit of happiness, which is in a given country's constitution. Actually, Egyptians, they have the right to be happy. Now what we are focusing on is that we are trying to make them live. Governments should work on making Egyptians happy, or happier people, not just to our utmost goal is to overcome poverty.
Yeah. It's basics.
Yes. Anyway,
but going back to your point of survival, it doesn't seem to be the case when we're looking at Egypt and projects that whereby the government is investing in, while other situations are really deteriorating. So I don't see the balance. I don't see the balance.
There's a discrepancy, basically.
Exactly, where survival means that you are, addressing the needy, the poor people, and you're really working on the survival strategy, like you're mentioning. But what I see in life, and what we're seeing every day, the government is investing in projects,
In big projects.
major infrastructure projects, and sometimes or most of them could be attributed to luxury projects more than infrastructure projects.
Actually, we can debate a lot of time about this definition of luxury products and what do you mean actually by luxury products or such investments. Yet, even if the government is investing in such PPP projects or infrastructure projects or whatever kind of projects, there should be definitely a plan. Yes, we have to agree that the government actually is much better. There is a vision, there is a will to do, but even if there is a will to do or to make a difference, comes, I always address this issue, the governmental body, the 6 million employees, those are the ones who are going to execute whatever plan or whatever vision that the government and the officials have. So there's a lot of issues to be addressed actually. We are trying. But what we can focus on is that our culture, we need to have an investment culture. We are not investment oriented at all. And this by the way, is not the specialty. We don't wake up in the morning knowing that we want to invest in this country or make it a better investment atmosphere for whoever is interested to invest in this. We don't have this culture.
While it is a very effective, while it is a very effective country and very effective, it's unfortunate that this is the case.
Unfortunately, Egypt actually has hell of resources, people with passion. It has everything. It has marvelous geographic location. It has marvelous resources. Egypt has it all. Egypt even have the intelligent minds. I don't know.
What is it lacking then? Why are we still in the survival strategy?
Management and discipline. Management and discipline and planning.
Basically.
Planning first, second management, third discipline.
And how, in your opinion, can we improve these 3 basic words? How can we change them?
First,
any ideas?
Yes, definitely, yes. It always comes from the leadership first, and I believe that the leadership now, the president, he has a vision, definitely.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Basically, we keep putting the blame on the leader, but you also need the people.
Yes,
the culture needs to change.
Yes, definitely, I agree with you. I mean by leadership, the leader has a role. I always believe in the human resources, and the job descriptions. Each one has to know where does he fit in the plan. So the leader's part is to inspire the people. He has to have a vision, inspire the people, choose the right staff, and then those right staff should start fulfilling the plan. So we need to plan where do we see, or where do we want to see Egypt in 30 years from now, 10 years from now, 5 years from now.
We need a vision.
That's definitely a vision. And definitely people are capable of planning. As far as I know, that there are several ministries that are currently, one of them is definitely the planning ministry. One of them is the investment ministry. I know that those people are currently working on many initiatives that we are trying to make a difference. I believe that this conference that's going to be held in Sharm el-Sheikh, yes, it should be the first step.
Do you think it's going to make a difference?
I hope it makes a difference. No, I hope it makes a difference, but I believe that there's more coordination between the different ministries should take place. It's about I think it's about the atmosphere, preparing the atmosphere before having the summit.
Exactly.
Yes, definitely.
It's not just the summit.
I agree, but I want to tell you something actually. I love to read history, okay? Egypt had witnessed very critical conditions and situations all over its years. Let's take the past 1,000 years, for example, the past millennium. At the era of Mamalik, at the era of Tatarist people, at the era of any of those eras, Egypt had witnessed very severe conditions. So what we're witnessing these days, actually, we can definitely overcome it. Over and above, look at the German Nancy state and how the state
You're
has
counting on
been
the circle of history.
I beg your pardon?
You're counting on the circle of history.
Absolutely, there have been nations, they wanted to make a change, and now look at those nations like the Japanese, the Germans, like even Europe itself, 300 years ago or 400 years ago, Europe hadn't been that scientifically developed at all. So everything is like the waves, like that's a peak. So I hope one day that we develop.
So let's speak at using your expertise in the dollar and the Egyptian pounds weakened to a very low state today. 7.46. Nobody expected that, you know, from the people's perspective, it would come that fast and that low. So what exactly happened all of a sudden?
Let me put it this way, actually. There are two, I believe that definitely this coming summit has some sort of reflection on the way the CBE, the Central Bank of Egypt, is handling the currency situation. There are certain assurances that needs to be given to investors to invest in Egypt.
Absolutely.
Certain assurances like planning, like a unified investment law, like the currency and that the currency should be reflecting its real value. Like the investment environment I've been speaking about, like the way the investment authority is dealing with the investor. All these assurances, like the stability in the country and the political stability, or even a healthy political environment, all these assurances needs to be given to investors. One of them, I believe, is the real currency or the real value of the Egyptian pound should be reflected.
But that's not yet the real value.
I believe so, yes.
So it sounds to me like a discount to the investors to buy lands and to build factories. It's like, you know, the Egyptian money, because it happened all of a sudden, like you mentioned, it's the pre-summit, and it's affecting everyone, and it will affect inflation big time, which was already high in Egypt.
But I believe that in the past few months, inflation had been dealt with properly, and the level of inflation that we are witnessing these days is not as much as severe like for the past few months. Inflation is decreasing.
Yeah, exactly. This is what you're saying in terms of few months.
Yes.
But if we're looking at the past 2-3 years, and we're looking at the average of the inflation in Egypt, we find really tremendous.
Well, that what happens, I believe actually, from a point of view that had been exceptional. The inflation level that we have seen, positively exceptional, because when a country or a state in the size of Egypt witnesses a revolution in that magnitude, and the country is still operating the way it is, so that has been...
That was strong.
Yes, that had been...
But you're looking at an optimistic side, that the weakened dollar or the weakened pound would reflect a little bit of reality, so that will help the investment climate. This is what you're saying.
I'm one of the people who is partially favoring this, because there's two sides of the story. Some people are saying, no, oh my God, that's going to affect our business and all this stuff, and other people are favoring the whole thing. So actually, that's economy. There's always, there isn't an absolute yes.
Absolutely.
If there was an absolute yes or an absolute right, then things would have been
that's a positive way to look at it.
It's very different. Well, we'd like to thank you, Mr. Mohamed Mohy, the investment economic expert. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we're going to move on to another very interesting report in coordination with the Japanese Embassy in Cairo. The Ministry of Youth and Sports held a meeting with a delegation from the Japan International Cooperation Agency. The meeting aimed at discussing the means of bilateral cooperation, mainly in the field of youth. And Now TV's Abir Shusha was there. Let's take a look and don't go anywhere.